For banks to be able to support you, they must have enough financial muscle to do so. Are people or organizations in Nigeria ready to buy shares from the banks as it is today? Because the economy is not stable, and therefore investing in an environment that is not stable is also risky.
Hello, thank you for joining us on Noble TV Live. My name is Gray Armona, and today we're looking at a significant trend in the economy, the proposed recapitalization of banks by the central bank governor, the aim being to actually bring Nigeria to the point of the trend where we have $1 trillion outlay, in line with maybe global expectations. Of course, one doesn't actually can pin down the exact intention, but that is what it is assumed. And the generally effects too of recapitalization on the economy and the banking sector, including and especially employment, and how it will affect aggregate liquidity. To help us do justice to this theme is Comrade Augustine Omido. You're welcome to Noble TV Live.
Thank you very much.
Yes, the wheel that turns society is the economy, and the wheel that turns the economy is banking, the banking system. Talking about recapitalization, can you educate the viewer with regard to what it actually means before you now zero it on the banking sector and by extension the economy?
Yes, thank you very much, Gray. When the current central bank governor, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria,
yes,
in one of his conferences or speeches recently, he said, the CBN is actually working on.
Can we educate the viewer about the name?
Yes,
the name of the central bank.
Okay, Central Bank governor. Okay, yes. That's Dr. Yemi Cardoso.
Cardoso.
Yes, yeah. Yes. Okay,
thank you. That Brazilian connection.
Yes. A brilliant economist for that matter.
Yes.
So when recently he said, in line with Tinubu's thought pattern as far as the economy of Nigeria is concerned,
yes,
that the president actually wants to see an economy that is going to grow to the point where Nigeria will be talking about $1 trillion as her GDP,
yes,
in the next 7 years.
Yes.
And he now proposes that going along that line, the banks will be made to increase their capital base. Yes, capital base means that you have to have enough money, as it were, to be able to actually help to finance projects in the country, because normally if individuals or corporate organizations want to actually execute projects, the best places to go to is the bank. And when you go to the bank, say, okay, you have a so and so project, and you're able to prove that the project is a viable one, the bank will finance you and give you. In fact, even you may even involve more than one bank. That is when you begin to talk about consortium of banks. And for banks to be able to support you, they must have enough financial muscle to do so.
Yes.
And I think that is where the issue of capital base now comes in, because if you are going to have an economy that is so robust that people will now begin to enjoy again, you must have some banks or all the banks being able to actually finance projects and help their customers to do business. I think that is what is trying to achieve. Now, when I heard that, my first impression is, yes, kudos, but I want to react to it completely as a motor park economy. Somebody, because grassroots,
yes,
because you say you want banks to recapitalize.
Yes.
What are the ways of recapitalizing banks?
Yes.
Mainly through shareholding. For the banks now to sell their shares. If you look at the economy today now, what the people are passing through, are people or organizations in Nigeria ready to buy shares from the banks as it is today? That's the question. Why am I asking the question like this? Because the economy is not stable, and therefore investing in an environment that is not stable is also risky. Yes, and if you look at it again from the point of the value of shares in Nigeria, banks in Nigeria are not having the best of stocks as at now, because if you look at it now, there is no bank now that it has its share more than maybe like not even on, none of them is up to like 100 naira per share. There's no bank that has that. Okay. You know, and if you look at the other sector, you know, industries, you talk about maybe a firm like Nestle Foods that has about 146 naira per share. That is so. Now, what is that? What is that now that is going to attract Nigerians to actually invest in shares in the banks, knowing full well that investment in shares in banks in the last maybe let's say 15 years or 20 years now have not actually yielded the best of returns.
Yes.
So how are you going to convince the Aba trader? How are you going to convince the Lagos businessman? How are you going to convince the common lecturer or civil servant to now bring his money to the bank so that the bank's capital will now go up? That is my fear. And if you overcome that fear, you now begin to ask yourself, have we got to that level where we now believe in shareholding in banks and other organizations? My answer is no, because if we have, Nigeria will not be at this point where we now grow companies that don't survive beyond the founder's lifespan. If you look at the highest shareholding company in the world, Berkshire, Hawkins or something in the US, the share capital, I mean the stock of that company is up to very close to 500,000 per share.
Okay.
Very close to 500,000 per share.
Okay.
You are talking of areas where people value shares and they trade in shares. That is when you say people can do businesses and go and sleep and they will be making money. But we are not gone to that level. I expected the Central Bank governor to actually come to a level where we first of all stabilize, like he is also trying to do, stabilize our pricing system, stabilize our foreign exchange regime, and also restore confidence in the banking sector, because the banking sector, there are many people who don't even want to do business in the banks as at now. So that is my feelings about the idea of recapitalizing the banking sector.
Why do you think the doctor of economics glibly, took to probably the presidency's, idea without? Because I admire your state of mind that you don't want to build intellectual castles in the air. You call yourself a motor park economist. And surprisingly, you may have credibility because you are dealing with the realities on the ground. The motor park economist is more on the ground than maybe the armchair economist who only builds castles in the air. Why do you think Dr. Cardoso didn't hesitate a bit before accepting? Let's say, hypothetically speaking, he accepted the presidency's idea, but coming down to the brass tacks of the economy that is under siege. That is because what you're saying now, it is alarming when the viewer gets to know that actually no bank can command 100 naira per share. That is above 100 naira per share. Relative to the. So why do you think he buys the idea?
Yes, the reason is because he was actually employed to help the president actualize his own dream on economy. So it's not wrong for him to have told that line, because if the president says this is what I want to do, it behoves on him to actually help the president to actualize that. So yes. Now, but when you look at it critically, you discover that the last time the capital base of banks was backed upon by Nigeria was during the time of Soludo in 2004, when the banks were asked to increase their capital base. That time, this time around now, so Cardoso has not told us the minimum capital base now for banks. Now, but that time, the minimum capital base of banks was 2 billion naira. Now, Soludo introduced 25 billion as the minimum. That was then. At that time, 25 billion amounted to $187 million. Now, today, that 25 billion naira only amounts to $32.5 million, which means I think the governor of the central bank now is working on the fact that the naira has so depreciated that the 25 billion naira capital now cannot go anywhere. Now, if you now want to increase it now, if we don't stabilize the standard of our currency and all that, maybe in no distant future, we'll be talking about increasing capital base again, because if the naira continue to fall, then we'll continue to have this idea that we have to now push up our capital base for us to match with the dollar. So the first thing, if we're able to stabilize the naira dollar relationship now, then you think of maybe ensuring that we'll have it for people to have confidence in the system. Then you cannot bringing the issue of people buying shares. Because you know that you are buying into an economy or a system that is so stable that you can be sure that at the end of the day, you get money for whatever you are investing. That is the way also I look at it, that because he's just playing to the gallery. He wants the president to actually succeed, which is normal, and I like that.
Okay, if you're very thoughtful and furtive, watching and listening to Comrade Augustine Milo, you'll simply come to the conclusion that you see a reminder of one of Ronald Reagan's economic, gurus, as David Stockman. David Stockman, ruthless economic thinking. That appears to be, what we discern from Comrade Augustine Milo's, economic outlook. He says, you cannot get to that point except you do a re-engineering, in the economy. So much so that, that embarrassing portfolio where no bank can boast above 100 naira per share, whether it can tally with the presidency and Dr. Yemi Cardoso's blueprint, is something maybe to tell the future. Thank you very much, Comrade Casemiro.
My pleasure.
So, of course, the usual routine. You like, share, subscribe, and don't forget to press the button, the necessary notification button, so that when the updates, the update about what we tend to do come your way, you'll be part of it and part of the great delight that Noble TV Live offers. My name is Gray Amona, and thanks a great deal for watching.